Continue to shine the torch of Africa. That's Zambia's first Republican leader, Kenneth Kaunda's message to President Akufo-Addo during a 3-day state visit to the southern African nation. We'll bring you emotional moments as President Akufo-Addo lays wreath in honor of Zambia's departed leaders. Also, to ensure significant growth of intra-Africa trade, President Akufo-Addo has urged African leaders to hasten the coming into being of the Continental Free Trade Area during his meeting with Zambian leader Edgar Lungu in Lusaka. Hello, I'm Jefferson Saki and you're welcome to the Presidential Diary. President Edgar Lungu of Zambia in June this year invited President Akufo-Addo to a state visit in Zambia. Apart from being the only Southern African leader to attend the inauguration of President Akufo-Addo, the invitation was also to renew and strengthen the friendship between Ghana and Zambia, and even more importantly, deepen the diplomatic credentials of the two countries. In today's edition of the Presidential Diary, we bring you highlights of the President's visit to Zambia. But first, with the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene Ahin, who spoke to me about the relevance of the Zambian trip.
Well, if we all recall, on the 7th of January, when the President was sworn in, the only President from Southern Africa who was present at the ceremony was the President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Edgar Lungu. Now, at that swearing-in ceremony, he invited the President of Ghana to pay a state visit to Zambia at his convenience, as and when time would permit him. 2 weeks after that particular encounter, the pair met again at the AU summit, and there again the President of Zambia extended an invitation to President Akufo-Addo, and it was at that particular AU summit that the President accepted the invitation, and planning had been ongoing from then till the 26th of June, when the President left the Republic of Ghana for a 3-day official visit to the Republic of Zambia.
Even before Ghana's presidential aircraft touched down, the spirit of Zambia and her love for Ghana was all packaged in various cultural displays. Women singing praise for Zambia's leader Edgar Lungu, who has led the country since 2015 after the demise of Michael Sata. Members of the Ghanaian community in Zambia were also there in their numbers to welcome their leader, with hope that his visit will work to their advantage, as no Ghanaian leader has visited Zambia in recent history.
Today we're very happy to welcome the President into Lusaka and to also congratulate him for winning the elections. And we're very proud that he's come to make us proud, because for a long time we've never had a Ghanaian president coming here for a long time. The two countries have, almost the manners, the behavior, the people, we almost look the same. And in terms of the cultures, we're almost having the same kind of culture. They're good people and they're very nice people, because otherwise, I would say they've welcomed us here, and we've been here, and for instance, I've been here for 30 years already, and without their, them liking us, it would have been a different thing. And most of our guys have been here the teachers have been here for quite a long time. At one time, we had about 300-400 Ghanaians in here that were teaching their schools. So we're very, very good and very good in their books as well, because of the, I would say, the teachers and the professionals that have come here to work from the IMF, the World Bank. A lot of guys are working with their ADB and stuff. So we have a very good history between Ghana and Zambia.
laying of the red carpet and the positioning of security guards were all put in place ahead of time. As the sun finally set at exactly 18:15 hours local time, Ghana's presidential aircraft carrying the President and the First Lady touched down at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Zambian President Edgar Lungu and First Lady Esther Lungu welcomed President Akufo-Addo and First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Minutes after President Akufo-Addo arrived in Lusaka, he met up with the Ghanaian community there, which has become synonymous of his foreign visit. It was to brief them on his mission in Zambia, issues back home, and also to listen to concerns they may have in Zambia before officially meeting with President Edgar Lungu. President Akufo-Addo urged them not to sit on the fence, but also work together and unite to consolidate the progress being made in Ghana. The meeting with the Ghanaian community in Zambia was President Akufo-Addo's first official meeting in the country. First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Foreign Minister Shirley Ayoko-Botre accompanied the President to the meeting. Some members of the Ghanaian community had travelled for hours from Zambian cities like Ndola and Livingston to meet with the President. President Akufo-Addo's message to them was that of hope. He assured them that government is putting right measures in place to make Ghana the preferred destination.
The biggest single issue before our people, before all of us, is what we need to do to raise our economy again. Because it is in doing that that we'll be able to tackle the big and biggest problem in our country, the lack of jobs for the young people of Ghana. Everywhere you go, town, village, town, city, it is the stark reality that the vast majority of our youth are not in gainful employment. That is an extremely dangerous development for our country. And there is a need urgently to do something about it. We can do something about it if our economy grows and prospers. Because that is how we'll be able to get more enterprises, new jobs, new openings. So that's our focus.
On the issue of corruption, the President cited the case of the 19 customs officers in Tema who connived with some shipping agencies to allegedly steal 1.2 billion Ghana cedis belonging to the state, noting that if such loopholes are blocked, government will be financially able to carry out its development plan.
We're going to have new habits. The corruption, we're going to have to do something about it. We can't continue to bleed because a few people placed in positions of confidence and of trust manage to divert public funds into their own pockets. It has to stop. It has to stop for the future of our country. So a series of measures are being put in place. One, the reform of our import processes and the processes at the ports. We've committed ourselves that by September, transactions at the ports of our country will be paperless, so that we'll take away the opportunity for physical manipulation of figures and of invoices and all of that. It'll be electronic. And that in itself should plug a lot of loopholes. That will be happening by September this year.
Members of the Ghanaian community took turns to ask questions and also give suggestions on various issues.
It's been a very rewarding occasion for us here in Zambia. Ghanaians have been preparing for this for some time now. In fact, we were expecting to have had a presidential visit some years ago. So it is a momentous occasion for the president in his first few months of being in office to visit Zambia. And we hope that a lot of questions which have been asked and answered and more to come will uplift us here and will create the opportunity for business people and professionals here to really show the true face of Ghana in Zambia.
He talked about the economy. I mean, trying to bring the economy back to its footing. And I'm very glad for that. He talked about the corruption. In fact, that has been a cancer in, I wouldn't say even what you call Ghana alone, but the whole of Africa. And I'm very glad that he's tackling that with that new persecution. I don't know how do you call it, the special persecution. Yeah, I'm very glad for that to come on, and it's going to help us a lot, because if we are able to make good use, if we're able to get good, persecution and corruption is out of the system in Ghana, I think all those loopholes that has been blocked is going to help us a lot.
In wrapping up, it was the voice of this little girl that brought excitement to the room, decorating the president with her Zambian paraphernalia. President Akufo-Addo had his first official meeting with Zambian President Edgar Lungu the following morning, with the national newspaper, the Zambian Daily Mail, having their meeting as its cover story. The two leaders in their bilateral meeting touched on issues of mutual concern in the areas of mining, agriculture, democracy, among others.
Mr. President, I was very delighted when your Minister of Foreign Affairs visited recently and assured me that you were coming. One of the reasons why I was interested and excited is that this is an odd agreement between Zambia and Ghana, which has been lying in the drawers. But I think you and me will give it life. So our ministers here will begin cooperating henceforth and ensure that this is a living document. We know that there are a lot of things you are doing in mining, in agriculture, infrastructure development, and so on, which can benefit Zambia by being emulated. It's about common good practices, Mr. President. What you do better, we should not hesitate to emulate. In your gold mining, you have had issues of taxation. In our copper mining too, we have had issues of taxation. The question is, how are we going about it? I think my Minister of Mine and yours should exchange notes. Agriculture is the same thing.
And when we talk about our two countries, we talk about relations that go back a very long way, right to the colonial period and the period of the struggle for independence and the struggle for freedom in Africa. Our leaders at the time, our first leader, Kwame Nkrumah, played such a prominent role in that, as indeed the first leader of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda. The relationship between them was also a strong one, and it was part of all the building blocks that brought the Organization of African Unity into being, which we have inherited. But we have inherited also the strong relations that is established at the time, and I'm hoping that in our time, your time and my time, we will continue to build on it. This is why I think the opportunity there is in reviving the Permanent Commission for Cooperation is one that we should seize with both hands and allow us to develop the common relations that we need to do in our trade, in our investment, and so many of the common things that bind us. I'm hoping that we can come out of that with some concrete steps that we can take to encourage enterprises on both sides of the fence to be able to come together in agriculture, the mining area. We don't have intelligent arrangements about coming to each other's countries. So we still have visa situations. And I think that the time has come for us to be able to deal with those. To have also the building blocks, the avoidance of double taxation treaties. All of these are things that the time has come for us to put them on the ground so that we can really stimulate and enhance cooperation amongst us. We on this continent don't trade with each other. And it is part of the reason for our continuing difficulties. Other parts of the world, the intra-regional trade is the dominant features of their economies. So it's not surprising that their economies thrive and that their peoples also benefit from it. The time has come for us also to look at that and see what we can do to stimulate trade amongst ourselves. I think it's particularly important. And that is why also I think we should all take very seriously the continental free trade area that the AU is trying to bring into being.
President Akufo-Addo later signed the visitor's book acknowledging Zambia's role in the fight for a united Africa. Later that evening, a state dinner was held in honor of the visiting Ghanaian leader and Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, the First Lady of Ghana.
These are gratifying gestures, and for me,
while thanking the people and successive governments of Zambia for the hospitality extended to Ghanaian residents over the years, President Akufo-Addo appealed to the Zambian government to resolve a long-standing issue of a non-payment of pension monies due a group of retired Ghanaian teachers in Zambia.
Mr. President, as I've already indicated to you, I'm constrained to raise for the consideration of the relevant authorities a matter which has an important bearing on our relationship and which has been outstanding for some time. This involves the long-standing issue of the non-payment of pension monies due a group of retired Ghanaian teachers who have contributed towards educating a large segment of the Zambian society. It is time that this issue was satisfactorily resolved, and my information is that happily, positive efforts are now being made towards that end. Let the end come soon, and I believe, Mr. President, you are so committed.
The second day of his state visit to the Zambia, he made his way to the central province, where at least he saw for himself the kind of agricultural model that should be replicated across the entire African continent. I mean, it's a model that involves the local community. It doesn't discriminate against them. They are part and parcel of the kind of agricultural model they are having, the beats in the production of crops, be in the production of livestock. And at least we saw a version of the one village, one dam there. I mean, in an area where you think there should be no means of, or there should be no water or no irrigation facility there, it was present. So that's the kind of model the President of the Republic saw for himself at Amathion Agri Farms. And to the extent that the CEO of the farms had stated that if the President would want to come over and then have meetings with the Ghanaian counterparts, i.e. at the Ministry of Agriculture, to see how best we can reciprocate or replicate this particular agricultural model in Ghana.
I've seen something here which I think is very valuable. How an investment can be made in the rural part of our continent, which is bringing technology and skills and expertise and inserting it into a rural community, but at the same time taking the trouble to integrate the rural community into the investment and into the facility. I think that is extremely important, and it is a model of agricultural development that we need to really replicate as often as possible across the continent.
When we return, continue to shine the torch of Africa as Zambia's independent leader Kenneth Kaunda's message to President Akufo-Addo in an emotional meeting at his home in the outskirts of Lusaka. The Presidential Diary returns right after this break. Welcome back to the Presidential Diary. Since Zambia gained her independence in October 1964, the country has lost 3 former heads of state. President Levi Mwanawasa in 2008, President Frederick Chiluba in 2011 and President Sata in 2014. During the three-day official visit to Zambia, President Akufo-Addo laid wreaths on their tomb in Lusaka. This is the Embassy Park, the presidential burial site in Lusaka, one of Zambia's most respected sites. In this mausoleum lay the bodies of three of its past leaders. In a quiet morning, President Akufo-Addo was accompanied to lay wreath in memory of the three. First was Frederick Chiluba, the second president of Zambia. He won the country's multi-party presidential election in 1991, defeating the country's first president, Kenneth Kaunda, and led Zambia for 11 years. Next was President Levi Mwanawasa, the third Republican president of Zambia. He ruled the country from January 2002 until his death in August 2008. He is credited for having initiated a campaign to rid the country of corruption. Next was President Michael Sata, Zambia's fifth president. He was a minister during the 90s under Frederick Chiluba. He was elected president in September 2011 but died in office in October 2014. Signing the Book of Condolence, President Akufo-Addo paid tribute to the immense contribution and impact these past leaders made on their country as well as on Africa. Hours after President Akufo-Addo paid his respect to the three past leaders, he paid a courtesy call on Zambia's first Republican president, Kenneth Kaunda, at his home in the outskirts of Lusaka. It was an emotional meeting when President Kenneth Kaunda told President Akufo-Addo that his contribution as president can make a huge difference, not only in Ghana, but for Africa as a whole. It is here in the home of President Kenneth Kaunda that the meeting took place. Both are meeting personally for the first time, but with an emotional attachment. At age 93, the Zambian first Republican president still looks good for the press. He was at the forefront of the struggle for freedom from British rule and gained independence for the country in 1964. He was an admirer of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and took mentorship from him.
You're coming to visit Zambia, your other home.
His initial message to President Akufo-Addo was about Africa and the quest for real leadership, asking him to continue to shine the torch of Africa.
This visit can enable the governments and people of Ghana and Zambia to expand and deepen our cooperation in various areas of human endeavor. Your Excellency, continue to shine the torch of Africa. Again, I say, welcome.
President Akufo-Addo thanked President Kenneth Kaunda for his exemplary leadership in Zambia and Africa and for playing a pioneering role with the likes of Kwame Nkrumah for Africa's independence, noting that he represents the symbol of the relationship between Zambia and Ghana.
It's extremely important that I come and pay my respects and visit you, because you are the symbol of that relationship. It was between you and Dr. Nkrumah who forged that relationship between our two countries, and who also worked to ensure the freedom of our continent. You are the icons of for our generation, those who fought for our independence and freedom. So long as you're alive and somebody like me comes to Zambia, I have to come and pay my respects and see how you're doing and say thank God for your life and for the contribution that you have made for the independence and the development of our continent. It's extremely important that we continue to understand that we are one. Our circumstances are the same, and we have to continue to work together across these colonial boundaries to ensure that the welfare and progress of our people across the continent are the main considerations for those of us who have been blessed with the privilege of political leadership.
As the visit ended, President Akufo-Addo held hands with President Kenneth Kaunda as they said bye to each other. And on that note, we end today's edition of the Presidential Diary, brought to you by the Communications Directorate at the Presidency. Log on to www.presidency.gov.gh and the other social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as on Instagram for more updates. I'm Jefferson Saki. See you next time.